Hi there, this is Jerry King, and today I'm going to be talking about four pillars of destiny and the output element, more particularly on surrender to the output element or follow the flow of output. In Chinese, we call it 从而 ge. So basically, the day master usually surrenders or follows the output element, where the output element becomes the favorable element, and obviously you need the wealth element as well in this case, where the day master is too weak to actually um, follow use other elements such as their resources or your self element. Okay, so what constitutes an output? So output element, very self-explanatory for most of you. The output element is the element that the day stem feeds and grows. So for example, wood feeds fire. Fire is the output. You can see my background on my PowerPoint. You got the white colors and the bluish colors. So basically right here, you can see the theme here is metal feeding the water. So if a day master is metal, obviously the water represents its output. So the thing is, we have to understand, is output good or bad for the chart? There's so many different ways of using the output, and it's not always good to have output. But based on my experience, I would say, more than likely, more than 50% chance, like if you have output in your chart, it's pretty good. It's useful. Sometimes it is not useful because output also represents your speaking and your writing abilities. And if your output is being damaged or it's what I call under siege, basically when you're trying to speak or when you're trying to write, everything becomes gibberish. It's like you're trying to talk and nobody understands what you're saying. You're just um, it's like blah 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 blah, and it's almost like if I've damaged output. I'm not saying I have output or I don't have output. It's just like if, for example, if I've damaged output or if my output is bad, I shouldn't even be speaking about this topic. You're part way through this presentation, you'd be like wondering, what's this guy talking about? So you can actually see it in people's personal lives. So if you have friends that you talk to, and sometimes half the stuff that they're talking about, and you don't understand what they're trying to say, or maybe it's just too high level, where they're trying to talk in a very philosophical way. It's also possible that there could be too much output, where it's at another level as well. So and the other thing is, if people write a lot, they speak a lot, people doing presentations, having good output is very important. Can't stress this enough. Like if you're a marketing person or if you're a salesperson and you don't have your proper output, it's not going to be good. And especially when you have output in the stems, that's where it matters because it's visible, right? In Four Pillars of Destiny, it's always been said that you don't want wealth to be visible in the stems because it's easy to get robbed or it's easy to get your money stolen. Whereas on the other hand, output, there's nothing wrong having output in the stems. Like you're not going to get robbed of your output. You're trying to give out things, you're trying to create things, you're trying to speak, you're trying to present, right? They're not going to take your money just because you're speaking, right? So yeah, having output in the stems is more ideal than having your output buried in your branches. When your output is buried in your branches, it's really difficult to obtain recognition or achieving things just because you're hidden, right? Your ability to speak is just hidden, or it's hard for people to notice you, right? So when should we follow the flow of output? So when we say surrender to output, right there, this Chinese here, 从而 ge, so that's what it's called in Chinese. So when should we follow output? You gotta remember, if, for example, your day stem is born in a season where it's under reduction, so it's under it's in a reduction mode, then we'd say there's a high possibility of the Daymaster following the flow of output. So here I'll generate an example. It'll make it easier for you to understand. So gonna write a random example here. So if we're looking at the day, let's just use rainwater. Okay, for example. So this is your day. And then let's say your month is, let's just use, yeah. And then let's just say your year. We don't define the year here. And then an X here. We don't know what's here. So if we use yin, 加 yin. So here's my tiger, right? And then here's my year. We don't know anything here. So basically this is all we've got, right? So it is said that the water here, so your water Daymaster, Daymaster, or stem, whichever way you want to call it, born in spring, right? Because of the tiger. So from this example here, we can see the wood is reducing the water, right? So the possibility of, we can say that the output is strong. So the output is exceptionally strong. That's a good way of saying it. So basically this water is feeding into this big tree. So right here, we can say that there's a high possibility of the water following the flow of wood, right? What we see here is the water is in reduction, right? So water is being reduced. Water is being reduced, and you're born in the season where you're being reduced. So basically the possibility of this person surrendering to the flow of wood is extremely high. So I can even make it more, the possibility could be higher if, let's say, this person has to just use horse here, right? So, oops, if we put a horse in the month, in the day, right? If we have the horse here, remove the X. Now you have a combination here, right? Combination. We have a half fire combination here, right? So we have fire. Okay. Fire, right? So fire, we call it 3 harmony. We're missing the dog here. Let's just assume we don't know the rest of the chart. We don't know what's in the year, what's in the hour. The possibility of this one following 2 flows is very high because you're born in the spring, right? And the thing is, this wood is already extremely strong, and the water does not have any root. So the yang water in the ren shui, in the day stem, it doesn't have any support underneath, right? So and the possibility of following a different flow is very high. So you can say that it could surrender to wealth as well, or it can surrender to obviously the output. So in this case, he can use this person can use 2 flows. He can use wood and fire because wood supports the fire. Now the thing is, with surrender to output, surrender to output to become successful, it should also contain the wealth element. Okay, so the fire represents the wealth element. This is written in all classics. I'm just basically regurgitating what they're saying. So basically, if you surrender to output, ideally it is better to have your wealth element in your chart. And let's say you don't have the wealth element. It's not the end of the world. It's just that you have to wait until you encounter a cycle. So assuming, like, let's say there's no horse here, right? If this person doesn't have the woo underneath the Ren water, then you gotta wait till the luck cycle hits. So you gotta wait until the horse actually shows up in the luck cycle, and then suddenly, boom! In that 5 to 10 year period, you end up making a lot of money. Well, this person makes a lot of money. Okay. We'll go back to this. So what are the benefits of following the flow of output? As I mentioned, if you have your output in your stems, the ability to speak, the ability to present, the ability to be visible, and achieving success is extremely high. There are methods where they say, oh, is it the eating god or is it the herding officer? Does that make a difference? Well, in many of the classics, and the way I see it, basically, if you have a lot of output in your chart, it doesn't matter. Then it suddenly just becomes the herding officer, or it just suddenly becomes your uh, output. So basically, you just follow your output. So that's how it's generalized in a nutshell. Okay. I got a couple examples here to demonstrate what the output can do. So looking at Malcolm Gladwell, I've talked about this many times in the past, but let's just take a look. So we have Earth on the day, right? And then you got your Yang metal and your monkey. So basically, it's got a rooster as well. The rooster is a scholar star. It's his scholar star, but let's not worry about that for this. We just gotta be more concerned. Okay, there's metal, like a whole pillar of metal here. So the Yang metal monkey, there's some hidden water in there. And then you got your pure metal in the rooster. So basically all the earth is feeding the metal. And you got also, and I also mentioned earlier that if your Daymaster is in the reduction season, so earth is being reduced by metal in the autumn, in this case, this satisfies our criteria of a chart that follows the flow of output, right? And to add to that, if you have wealth elements in your chart, so basically Malcolm Gladwell has water inside his monkey, and he also has water in the year stem. This is a perfect storm, basically, or I shouldn't call it a storm, but a perfect situation where your earth is feeding metal, metal is feeding the water, right? So this we can classify as surrender to output. Even though there are no combinations, we can still say that it surrenders the flow of output. It's very common where you don't need combinations for charts that want to surrender to output. It can still follow that flow, okay? And the next one we have here, Stan Lee. This is a perfect example of so he's a Yang metal born in the month of the rat. So the metal's energy is being reduced in the month of the rat in December. So in the winter time. So whether it's the pig or the rat, lots of water there. So naturally the Yang metal is following the flow of the water. Now, I mentioned earlier, you don't need combinations to follow the flow of output. And here we are. There is a half combination between the horse and the dog. However, this isn't a combination that creates water. This is a half combination that can possibly create fire. Having said that, it doesn't matter because the fire is in the winter months. The fire is not strong enough to impede the progress of the water. You can say that the dog could try and impede the progress of the water because of its earth contents, which is also very difficult. Okay, if you trace back to Stan Lee's history, there's a lot of water that actually metal and water and wood in some of his cycles that helped them become famous, okay, or become well known. So looking at these dates, I mean, 1962 is a big one because that's the Yangwater Tiger year, Yangwater Tiger year. And then you got 1963, which is your Yinwater Rabbit. So that generates a lot of output, plus having a rabbit and a tiger underneath. That's wood. That's his wealth element. Okay. And this sort of a chart where the metal follows the flow of water, there is a rule behind this. It states in the classics where when metal follows water, you can use the controlling element. In this case, it is fire. So the importance of his fire stems from warming the chart because it is cold in the winter, right? Being born in a rat month. So what you want is a bit of fire. So there is a bit of fire in that horse that warms the water. So when you're warming the water is happy. Okay, the water is warm and it's happy, and your output is happy. Output is clear, it's decisive, and it's noticeable. So what happens is when he starts drawing, writing, creating his comics, for example, Stan Lee here, everything becomes very clear and likable and acceptable because the water is beautiful. Think about it, being in like a frozen lake or whatever, and then the sun comes up, it warms, it cheers everyone up because it's cold, it's so cold and it's so damp, and you want some sunlight, right? So this is the rule that applies to metal following the flow of water. Okay, then you would use fire. Whereas if we go back to Malcolm Gladwell's case, it does not work here, where, okay, his controlling element is wood, right? You cannot really utilize wood in this case. Then you're having a different type of conflict. The wood is creating a metal and wood conflict, whereas this fire that comes in, it does not necessarily have to be a conflict. It could be just warming up the chart. You see here this horse and rat. It's so common where people just look at that and say there's a clash. So if there's a clash, this person's not happy, problems with his family life, blah, 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 etc., etc. This might not be the case. That horse might be very important in creating something else, which is warmth, right? That's something for you to evaluate and investigate more. I'm just trying to throw out some ideas out there where you can think about whether this clash is actually good or bad. Okay, so something to think about here. Just gonna bring out, these were notes that I took a while back. So when I was talking about presentations and public speaking, you could probably feel free to hit the pause button and take notes here. I'm not gonna read word for word, but one thing of note is right here where the output belongs in a birth system, and whether it is favorable to one's flow has an impact on one's ability to present him or herself. So as I mentioned, having the output elements being favorable is very important in public speaking and showcasing yourself. So these examples here, a whole bunch of people, like I even have Martha Stewart here, David Letterman. So people who are who have the ability to speak. Carol Chung's a famous one. Zhang Yuling, she's a famous one in Hong Kong. She's always in talk shows and being announcers and being the MC, whatever. Like she's always out there in movies with Jackie Chan, etc., etc. So these are some of the names that you guys may want to take a look at. Furthermore, in the United States, Bob Costas, well known as well, broadcaster for a lot of sports. So yeah, this is something for you to take a look at as well. Coming back here, I'm just gonna hit the new button. So one more thing of note is if let's say your output, your day master, let's just say your day master, and then you have, and then your output is hidden underneath. So this is your day, and then your month, and then your year. So let's just say this your output is in the branches, right? So we got your stem and your branch here. So if you have output here underneath, it's also imperative to figure out, okay, what kind of output is underneath, and if it's not here, so there's no output here, there's no output here, right? So there's no output above. It is very difficult sometimes to present yourself or to connect yourself with people just because the output is buried. So let's just say I can give another easy example here. This little eraser. So let's just say your output is let's just say we'll just go with Ren water here. So let's say I have Ren here, and I'm going to erase this one as well. That should be enough. Yeah. Okay. And I have a Wu here. So this is your output and your day master. So the day master would be Yi, right? So because wood. So let's say, and that feeds into your horse, right? This is your horse. It's almost like Chinese chess that I'm trying to build here. This is pretty much like, yeah, Bazi is like almost a chess match. So what we have here is you're born in the season of the horse. So obviously the fire is very powerful. But what we have here is the water. The water suppressing the fire from coming out. So this is something that take notice of. Is that fire gonna ever be noticed? It's very difficult. So let's just say if I add another like Ren here, doesn't like me here. Ren, and then we have Shen here in the year, right? That makes it worse because now this water, this whole water is completely rooted. So the water is actually blocking the fire. So it's very difficult for this person to showcase himself. However, there is a remedy for this. The ideal remedy is to use the Ding, right? Because the Ding, what it does is it can combine either or, right? Combine, unplug it, unplug the water, take it away. It could possibly transform to wood, but very difficult in this case. We talked about transformations and stuff like that on stems last time, or actually the week before. So I could carry on with this next time and talk a little bit more about this. But for now, we just have to understand that the Ding is keeping the Ren occupied, and that gives you the opportunity to present yourself with that output in the horse right here. So this finally has a chance to showcase himself. So that's all I want to say for now for today. I will carry on and talk more about the stem combinations. I said I was going to carry on and elaborate more on the combinations, but we'll follow up on that next time when I put together another video. So if you like this video, just hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be adding more videos on a weekly basis or whenever I'm available. It's Chinese New Year's coming up, and it's going to get a lot busier as I have a lot of events, but I'll try my best to put more videos together. So that's it for today. I'll see you again next time.